Cafecito con la mera Wera. One cafecito at a time.
Hi all, welcome to Cafecito con la Mera Wera. Today I have a very special and handsome guest, might I add. Except for he's sitting on the wrong side, so I feel awkward, but we're just gonna roll with it.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
I am Ricardo Barrera. I am an attorney, primarily practicing the area of family law. I study systems involving children, and I have a current project where I'm dealing with ethics and emerging technology.
Okay, good. So we're gonna get all down to the nitty gritty, but let's talk a little bit about one of my most important and favorite things to talk about. Me. How did we meet?
Oh, we met at the courthouse.
Woo!
And became great friends, and that friendship emerged into a beautiful relationship and then a marriage.
Okay, all right. See, he has to say that because I'm right here. Long story short, a lot of people think that it is kind of weird. I mean, two attorneys being married together. So I guess the question for you is this. In the household, who wins more of the arguments?
You.
See? Yeah. Okay, so you talked a little bit about doing family law and then about your sort of jump into AI. Let's start talking about family law. Tell us what kind of cases you handle.
I handle cases involving custody, adoption. I handle cases involving divorces. And primarily my purpose and goal is to create workable systems between parents that benefit children for the long term.
Yeah, and you hear about that term, right? What in the best interest of the child. And that's sort of like the gold standard when it comes to family law, is that right?
That's the gold standard, and really if you want to take it deeper, it's the difference between becoming a solver of problems or a person who be more likely to create problems. And so what the best interest of the child is a lens that a judge or even jury looks at as to something that rises above the needs and desires of both parents and looks at the lens of what's overall best for the children's development, health, education, and general welfare.
Yeah, and I can see that being hard. This is why I don't do family law. That's why he does it, because that's the stuff, I mean, there's so much emotion involved. And, I can see how parents lose sight of best interest of the child because they get into this, well, I need to be right sort of thing, right? Nothing that I ever do.
A lot of times when you have a high conflict divorce or custody dispute, there can be a personal orientation between the parents as to what are some of the emotional issues and trauma that they've both been through. But overall, the parents that can rise above that and look at the best interests of the children through the long term are the ones the court usually finds more credible.
Right. So what are one of the biggest mistakes that you see people making before even getting to court and before hiring a lawyer?
I think it would be emotional text exchanges where they're trying to win arguments by text.
You're a son of a bitch.
That can be some of the things you hear. Other things are unilateral moves that are made with no real orientation on what's best for the kids. So like withdrawing kids from school or withholding children. One needs to know that children are a vulnerable populace and they process things in the way children do. And it's up to the parents to be good stewards of those children to ensure that what they're doing is normal and consistent as possible for the children.
Right, sure. What is one thing that every individual should know, every parent should know going through a divorce?
They should know it's not your children's fault, so don't weaponize the children and make them the real issue of the divorce.
Yeah.
The divorce is a transition where parents are transitioning from a marital unit to a co-parenting unit. And as a co-parenting unit, they need to be able to collaborate and work on what's best for the kids.
Right. And you've been doing family law, what? It's going on like 16 or 17 years now.
It's been more than 16 years, going on 17 years.
So you've got that covered, but now you're jumping into this whole other arena of some of this AI stuff, and you're trying to build upon family law with programs with AI, right? Or explain that to us, because I may have it all wrong.
You're actually very right, and it flows in sequence because my experience with family law and dealing with what we call the downstream effects of how life and technology and institutions affect children in the family unit. I have become knowledgeable in the area of emerging technology because we are at a crossroads right now where technology is emerging, and there will be effects in what I call the downstream, which affects the areas of family and children, which is my area of expertise. So I've started to create a framework for ethical stewardship in emergence technology, dealing with emergencies that affect children.
Okay, so in normal people words, what does that mean?
So in everything I've seen,
Yeah.
in all the effects that I've seen on how important the family unit and children are to society, since we have all this new technology, artificial intelligence is going to be as prevalent as a smartphone.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to understand that this technology is emerging at a rapid rate and that people need to be literate as to this technology. For example, I've recently created a digital grooming course that educates parents as to how predators can use technology to target children. How does this relate to family law? Well, when you put children in high stress, high conflict situations such as divorce or custody cases,
Right.
children can sometimes go outside the family unit for approval or for validation, and unfortunately that can go into the online world, which is a whole other universe that one has to have safeguards and guardrails for.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think a lot of our viewers are parents. I think a lot of parents tend to follow me because of all the information that we disseminate. But we do have 3 kids, right? We have a 15-year-old, almost 15, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And I think like the majority of kids out there, I mean, it's the Roblox, it's a this and then that. And so that's really what you're referring to, right? It's people that are reaching out, I guess, to others, and could be a, 10-year-old child or could be a 50-year-old man, we don't know.
Right, so really it's most important for parents to have an open dialogue with their children as far as what they're viewing online and what they have access to.
Right.
It's important for parents to have some digital literacy as to what are some of the safeguards and settings and supervision that one can apply. It's important that there's understanding about what are some of the ways that the children can be targeted, because as parents we have a responsibility to steward our children and make sure that they don't fall into a situation where somebody is representing themselves in a certain way, and it could be bad for kids.
Right. Okay, so tell us, you've done family law this time, you've dove headfirst into the AI, and so tell us, you have these programs that you intend on building and disseminating. What exactly would that look like?
So first and foremost, there's a course that parents can take that gives them a better understanding and literacy of what is out there in emerging technology and how to be better stewards or guardians over that information. What's important for people to know in my scholarship and work on this subject of ethical stewardship of technology is that it's really about people before technology.
Okay.
And people understanding that there needs to be curiosity over fear. And we need to ask the right questions right now while technology is rapidly emerging so that we can integrate a system where stakeholders like parents, business owners, educators, doctors, people from all areas of a society can kind of come together with this convergence.
Right. I think you're right. I think that, some people are against AI, some are for it, but I think it's all pointing the same direction. I mean, we're all, if not using it now, are going to be using it. And I'll tell you, yesterday I was at Walmart, right? Trying to figure out what power drill, I use power drills now, what power drill to buy. And me and the lady at Walmart had no clue. And so both of us pull out our phones, pull out ChatGPT, and are working together with the phone to figure out what drill is the best for me, right? And so it's everywhere. And so from your perspective then, with these courses, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like? Is it going to look like a video, or is it going to look like questionnaires? What is it going to look like?
My course has 8 video modules of which parents would observe and take notes. At the end is a comprehension quiz to ensure their understanding is proper. And at the end of the course, they would get a certification relating to the subject matter.
Oh, that's great. I like that. And then, so what in your mind would like the ideal family court experience look like with AI being implemented?
Well, first of all, AI is a tool, but humans are responsible for what goes in AI and how it's used.
Right.
Ideally, a court should have transparency and accountability so that things are reported accurately. So in terms of AI, it is important for people to know that attorneys are licensed to practice law, and AI can be used as a research tool.
Right.
AI is not responsible for your case.
Right.
And second of all, when one goes to a judge, especially in family courts, credibility is supreme. So they look for people accurately representing things.
Yeah.
So if AI is used to alter something or make something that should be represented as true, not so true, then it's not being used correctly. And again, we go to the stewardship factor. People are responsible for how they use or access AI.
Yeah.
And for what purpose.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I mean, I know in my practice, if we're just sort of on the cusp of them, in criminal cases and on personal injury cases, of them subpoenaing our AI search history. Have you seen that yet in the family law world?
I am aware of how to use this tool if necessary. Just like the rules of civil procedure in law apply, if one is trying to subpoena something that is inherently private, they must show some grounds as to why it's relevant to the case.
Right.
So a lot of things can be potentially subpoenaed. The judge is the gatekeeper in deciding whether or not certain information is relevant.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Now let's sort of segue into, you use this term ethical AI. And for all of us that don't really understand that, what in the world does that really mean?
Well, I'm going to use a term that is even more precise. It's called stewardship in AI. And it means that there should be guardrails and constitutional ethical factors involved in AI that ensure that people understand there's a difference between performative AI and what I would call ethical AI or stewardship AI. And performative AI is I am going to direct AI what to do, and AI as designed according to that model will give me what I'm asking for.
Okay.
So when we're talking about ethical AI or stewardship AI, we're talking about there being design interface along with user responsibility to ensure that things are transparent, accountable. There can be auditing or an auditor who can see what's going on and why it's going on, how things were developed, and mainly about increasing user responsibility.
Right. Well, I know sometimes I'll try to do something on AI that's, not even really outside of the realm of normal. Like, can you create an advertisement for me or whatever? And sometimes it'll shut me down. It'll say, well, we don't know if you have rights to use that. Or, so there are some guardrails in place, but don't you think just over time they're gonna get better or get worse? Or what do you think that's gonna look like?
It's difficult for me to predict what's going to happen over time, but we are at a crossroads right now where, AI literacy is the goal, not AI expertise in my area. I would like to increase people understanding what AI is and responsible use of that so that there can be more responsible use.
Yeah, I mean, it is scary. I mean, it's awesome, but it's also, you know, a little bit scary as a lawyer because, you know, before, if the state or the other side gives us evidence, I mean, you just trust it for what it is, right? If they give you pictures or if they give you text messages, you just, okay, well, shit, they got us, you know, we have these text messages that are pretty damning. But now with AI, I mean, there's apps that you can just create text exchanges between people. So now we have to look at these with a lot more caution, right? Any evidence that comes our way.
Yeah, there are safeguards in place where one can obtain metadata in order to authenticate. There's AI detection models that can be used.
See, I didn't know about that.
There's rules of evidence regarding, which you do know, which regarding authentication and proper introduction of evidence, which has those safeguards in place. So
Sort of.
Yeah, digital evidence is evolving, but along with those digital evidence, the rules that exist right now do speak to those, and it's up to the attorneys to responsibly check and safeguard based on those.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a totally different world, and I feel like we've just like hit the iceberg. I mean, can you imagine what it's going to look like 10 or 20 years from now when we're little viejitos practicing law?
I think the future belongs to informed collaboration, and so that's why literacy is necessary for not only professionals, but downstream stakeholders, just anyone, so that they can have better understanding and be more responsible in their use.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna play a quick game of fun rapid fire. Now, a few episodes ago, I played this game with my dad, and he apparently doesn't know the meaning of rapid fire. So we're gonna keep it quick, right? So the first answer that comes to your mind, you roll with it.
Okay.
Ready, Barrera?
Ready.
ChatGPT or Claude?
It depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. There are models that are great for just about any task. Again, we go back to responsible use and application of those as to what you're trying to do.
You're apparently the same as my father and don't understand the concept of rapid fire.
in terms of useful dialogue and reflection, I like ChatGPT.
Got it. No, I appreciate that. Paper books or Kindle?
Paper books.
Me too. Favorite legal movie?
To Kill a Mockingbird?
Oh, that's a good one. I did a judges panel the other day and had a bunch of judges on there, and that one came up, as did, of course, my cousin Vinny.
They're popular.
They're popular. I like Legally Blonde myself.
That's a good one.
Okay. If you weren't a lawyer, what would you be?
Probably a rancher, a professor, a systems architect.
A trophy husband.
A trophy husband. Ultimately, I would be a father and a husband and somebody who can try to find a way to contribute the best I can.
Yeah. Okay, one AI prediction for the next 5 years.
I think that AI will be as prevalent as a smartphone. I think that the problem solving of AI will be much more effective and emerging, and we could be looking at breakthroughs with proper human and AI collaboration that we really can't even thoughtfully predict at this point.
Isn't it crazy to think, I mean, just, I guess like 3 years ago, I would never in my life think that we could do the things that we do now. I mean, literally the other day, I started putting jingles out on the radio station, so listen for those. But you know, I didn't have a team to build a jingle for me, so I was able to get an AI app and create a super catchy, awesome jingle in like 30 seconds, and now it's all over the radio. I mean, just in the past year, I mean, the advancements we've seen are like just totally mind-blowing.
I agree, and that's why there's responsibility with the public, along with the emerging technology, to really understand what that is and what responsible use can be. And that brings me to one of my final points. I'm working on a symposium that is going to involve community stakeholders in order to ask the right questions on how this emerging technology is going to affect everyday life. And when I speak about the phrase downstream, I'm talking about we are all going to feel the effects of the institutions that are creating this technology in a lot of sectors of our lives. Many of those will be great, and some of those may affect populations in an adverse way.
Okay.
So it's important for us to understand how those possible downstream effects are, so we can get ahead of that and start collaborating effectively so we can have the best possible outcome.
Okay.
So I'm working on a symposium with stakeholders. We're working on an Institute of Ethical Stewardship, which is going to be a nonprofit that will help communities and stakeholders understand what's happening so that policy issues can be identified as well as collaboration issues with those stakeholders.
Okay, I love it. What is one thing that AI will never replace?
Human stewardship. It means responsibility. At this point, there really has to be an effort to become, first of all, cognizant of the fact that this phenomenon of AI is rapidly emerging.
Right.
Second, with that rapid emergence, there's responsibility for stakeholders in the community as well as institutions to understand what it really is and what the effects are. So it's about asking the right questions early on and being able to integrate and collaborate properly.
Okay, so you're creating a program, apps, or a course, I guess. It could be an app form. You're creating a symposium. And do you have plans for a book maybe in the future?
I have a book that's been written but hasn't yet been published, and I have several papers that I've written that are available on my website, Barrera-lawfirm.com, and it's in my publications section where people can see basically what are the issues I'm seeing that affect family units, and the downstream public, and what are some observations I'm making that are resource-oriented to address those.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people that do watch us are just, normal people like you and I, right? Not necessarily, AI experts or even other lawyers. I don't know, maybe they are. But for the everyday mom and dad, what's your final word of advice that may be able to help some folks out there?
Don't be scared to ask the right questions. Know something before assuming something, and take full responsibility for how the integration of emerging technology affects your family. Understand that every device that your children use is a window into another world, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And that window is your responsibility to manage.
Yeah. You know what we do? I mean, we have two, our 10-year-old and our 7-year-old, and they have their iPads, right? One iPad is connected directly to my phone, so I see everything, and then one is connected directly to his phone. So I think it's a smart way to handle it until maybe they're a little bit older and, can manage themselves a little bit better. But every single text, all these little whatevers, we're getting those babies. So I would suggest, you may want to look into that too.
And every invitation, for example, on Roblox, server invitations or private server invitations can be viewed and questioned as far as who's interacting with my child and what is being said. Again, it's of very much importance that parents understand, along with their responsibility to manage for the general welfare of their children and development, that integrates right now with emerging technology and something can be done about it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think what you've given the folks and myself is really something to think about. So with that being said, if anybody has any further questions or whatever thoughts, can they call you? Can they reach out to you? How do we do that?
Yes, they can reach me through my law firm website.
Okay.
Eventually, the contact will be open for the Institute of Ethical Stewardship, which is being created right now to involve stakeholders in the community to collaborate on the very issues we've spoken about.
Good. And you're on social media because I spy on you all the time. So you can find me there too.
I'm always there.
Woo! Thanks, guys. See you next time.